Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. It's a brisk, early autumn day today, so I thought it would be fun to create a very simple fireside dinner. And we are going to make KFC copycat coleslaw, Instant Pot barbecue beef, and dessert is oven-baked apple slices, which are really delicious. And the first thing we need to do is grab a head of cabbage from the garden. Besides the cabbage, I also need a carrot for the KFC copycat coleslaw. Fortunately, you and I planted a whole bed of carrots last spring. Now I can move these apples out of the way. Now I will link the recipe that I'm following for this KFC coleslaw in the description box below. And besides the cabbage and the carrot, I also need about a tablespoon grated onion. I don't know that I've ever actually had KFC coleslaw, but I've read really good reviews about it. And the recipe I'm following got very good reviews. So I'm going to grate the onion, I guess on these holes of my box grater. Well, these holes didn't work out very well. Let's try these. Oh, much better. Well, that little tiny onion I used did not produce a tablespoon of grated onion, so I have a slightly larger one here. And these are the onions that you and I grew together. We already processed most of them. I just kept the very small onions. I think this is the first time in my life that I have grated an onion. Oh, and I'm sure we have a full tablespoon of grated onion right here. And we can scoop up this onion until we need it. Now, the recipe says to put the grated onion in a large bowl, along with sugar, mayonnaise, well shaken buttermilk, whole milk, white vinegar. I'm using white wine vinegar. Lemon juice, and I'm using the really good bottled lemon juice here. Salt and black pepper. And then all we need to do is whisk these ingredients together. So the recipe calls for 8 cups of cabbage, or 1 16-ounce bag of cabbage. So I'm wondering, does 8 cups of cabbage equal 16 ounces? We shall see. This is a huge Savoy cabbage. And I think the easiest way to chop this is in a food processor. So apparently KFC cabbage is not shredded, it's rather finely chopped. And if you've had KFC coleslaw and you love it, please let me know in the comments below. The ingredients look great. Now I have an 8-cup measure right here. Set this to pounds and ounces. Zero it out. And then I'm going to keep going until I have 8 cups, and then we can check the weight. I can tell you right now, based on my scale reading, that 8 cups of cabbage is definitely more than 16 ounces. Well, this food processor sure makes easy work of chopping cabbage. Now, I really wish that more recipe writers would weigh out ingredients. So if you need, let's say you need 8 cups of shredded cabbage, it'd be much easier to know that 8 cups weighs approximately 1.4 pounds, and then you can buy your cabbage accordingly. Since I have my food processor out already, I'm going to use it to shred the carrot. I don't think I did that correctly. Here we go. The recipe calls for just a 1/4 cup of shredded carrot, but I'm going to use slightly more than that. And although I scrubbed my carrot really well, I did not peel it because my carrots are grown organically. I'm going to clean up a little bit, and then we can add the ingredients to the dressing. Well, I thought this KFC copycat coleslaw was going to be the easiest part of tonight's dinner, but now I realize it's probably the most involved part. So in goes the cabbage, and this was closer to 2 pounds of cabbage. And I checked with Lizette, who was here behind the camera, and she told me she does know KFC coleslaw, and that the cabbage is finely chopped, just like this. There's a little piece of cabbage that didn't get chopped. Now, I want to transfer this to a smaller bowl. We are supposed to cover and refrigerate this for at least 4 hours, but I want to give this a little taste right now. I like the flavor of this, and I can taste just the tiniest hint of the onion in this mix. So I'm going to put this into a smaller bowl. And then as this chills in the refrigerator, the flavors will mingle with each other and become even more pleasant than they are right now. Cover. Into the refrigerator, and then we can get started on the next recipe. As I clean up here, I wanted to tell you that Lizette just tried the KFC copycat coleslaw at room temperature, and she said it's
gourmet version.
She also said it's even
better
than KFC coleslaw. So the next recipe I'm doing is the main course shredded beef, which I will turn into barbecued beef. I'm going to set my Instant Pot to saute. And then I wanted to show you the sticker shock. That's just my Instant Pot. I wanted to show you the sticker shock I received when I purchased this meat yesterday afternoon. So this is a chuck roast. It's the best kind of roast for shredding. This used to cost, for 5 pounds, about $22. Now it is $39.71. Big increase. So it needs to be delicious. I have to pat this dry with a paper towel. And then, since I need to saute this in the Instant Pot, well, not saute, I need to brown it first before we pressure cook it. I'm going to cut it into chunks or sections. It will cook faster that way. Also going to remove a bit of this fat. As you can imagine, my dog Avery is right here. She knows a good thing. Add a little avocado oil to the Instant Pot. And I want to dust the chuck roast with some salt and pepper. Now we can start browning the meat. All right, the meat is all nicely browned, and we brown it in order to caramelize it and give it extra flavor. So now I have a lot of stuck-on bits of meat in the Instant Pot, so I want to deglaze it. And I'm using water here. And as this water comes to a boil, I'm scraping just to pull up all of the stuck-on bits because they are loaded with flavor. And there we are. So we can return the meat to the pot and put the lid on. Turn off the saute feature and press pressure cook. And I'm going to cook this for 60 minutes. Actually, I want to move this Instant Pot because I need room for us to prepare the dessert. So I'm going to move it over here. And in 1 hour, this meat should be very tender and very easy to shred. I'm going to make the barbecue sauce for the shredded beef a little later, but for now, I want to get started on the baked apple slices, which are just great to have on hand because they are so versatile. And this is my own recipe, which I will link in the description box below. I need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar and about 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Give this a quick whisk. And if you have a fresh lemon on hand, you can absolutely grate some lemon peel into this and then mash the lemon peel and the sugar together to make the sugar fragrant. I don't have a fresh lemon on hand, but I do have a lot of these Ida Red apples that you and I bought together at a local orchard in the previous video. And if you missed that video, be sure to watch it. I should mention that peeling apples is not my favorite job in the world, so I try to think happy thoughts as I proceed with the job. And you definitely want to use a good baking apple for this recipe. Baking apples are those that hold their shape after they've been cooked. So after I core the apple, I cut it in half and then into quarters. And then I cut each quarter into thirds. And the apple slices go right into the cinnamon sugar mixture. Earlier, I mentioned that I try to think happy thoughts while peeling apples. And one of those happy thoughts is that you are here with me. And I really appreciate you. All of my apples peeled and cored and quartered, and all of the quarters cut into thirds. So now I'm just tossing them in the cinnamon sugar mixture. Then I want to add just a little lemon juice, about the equivalent of 1 lemon. Toss again. And then I need to find a baking dish. Let me empty this out. Maybe this dish will work. And if this little gratin dish is too small, I will simply have to find another one. Let me try to find another dish. Bingo! 9 by 13 baking dish. I'm going to add all of those juices from the apples. And I need to add about 6 tablespoons of butter. It's about 7 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to heat my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which I believe is 190 degrees Celsius. And then I'm going to put the apples into the oven, and about every 10 minutes or so, I will use a bowl baster to pull up and redistribute the juices over the apples. And the total cook time will probably be close to 1 hour. I'm going to get cleaned up here, and then we can make the barbecue sauce for the shredded beef. So while we wait on the shredded beef and the baked apple slices, I think we can go ahead and make our barbecue sauce. So I have 1.5 cups of ketchup here, 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. In you go. 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce. 1, 2, a whole honking tablespoon of either regular paprika or smoked paprika. I'm using smoked. A teaspoon of chili powder. Half teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of garlic powder. And as much cayenne pepper as you dare. I'm using about 1/4 teaspoon. And just mix. I should probably use a whisk here. A little taste. Oh my, this is good stuff. Going to cover this and refrigerate it until we need it. Now I want to check the apples. I forgot to set my timer on this oven. But a lot of juices have exuded, so now I can use the bulb baster to redistribute the juices over the apples. Now, I will probably baste these apples 2 more times during the cooking process. And I can assure you that these apples are going to be just fantastic because I basted them with the buttery juices. And we seem to be in good order for everything as far as this dinner is concerned. So now I have the flowers that you and I arranged in a previous episode. I'm going to pull out the flowers that have faded, and then we can head up to the garden to grab some fresh flowers because I think it will be nice to have flowers on the table. Fresh water. Now these are the flowers that you and I had harvested previously. So I just need to amend this arrangement with the fresh flowers. Seems like zinnias and snapdragons and other annuals all look their very best just at the end of summer or just when autumn is beginning. Well, this has been true for me for years. Well, I think this looks downright elegant. Going to set this aside for a moment because we need to baste the apples again, and I need to do a pressure release from the Instant Pot. I want to see how tender these apples are. They're pretty tender. I think they only need maybe 10 more minutes. I always put a cloth over the pressure release valve so that steam doesn't go flying everywhere. Pressure released. Smells fantastic. Look at this, it's falling apart. I have quite a bit of broth in here, which I will save. And when it's cool, I can freeze it and use it as stock for gravy. And now I want to shred this meat. And it's shredding very easily. So some of this shredded beef will be for tonight's barbecued shredded beef. And the rest of it I'm going to save because we are going to do a Mexican dinner because it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And I want to celebrate my Hispanic neighbors. This will be for our tacos. I'm going to let it cool, and then I will cover it and refrigerate it. And we will use this for the barbecued beef, which I'm going to serve on, I guess, hamburger buns. Now the question is, do I want to toast those hamburger buns? I think I won't toast the hamburger buns. So we can add some of this wonderful barbecue sauce to the shredded beef. Of course, I don't have to use all of the sauce right now. As soon as the apples come out of the oven, which will be right now, I'm going to put the shredded barbecued beef in the oven and lower the temperature to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, just to keep the beef warm. These apples are definitely tender. I will baste them one final time. And for dessert tonight, we can enjoy the apples with some ice cream. And now we can light a fire in the parlor fireplace. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very, very casual dinner. In fact, it's like a picnic. So this will be a fireside picnic tonight. To make these barbecue shredded beef sandwiches even nicer, I'm adding to them some of the pickled onions that you and I made together in a previous episode. Pickled onions are a delightful thing. And here is the coleslaw, which has been chilling for several hours. This is Pinot Noir. We don't have to be too casual. Lisette is joining me for this fireside dinner. And the first thing I want to do is try this coleslaw now that it has chilled for several hours. Well, I wish that I had cut the carrots a little more finely, but this is probably the best coleslaw I have ever tasted in my life. And now the barbecue shredded beef sandwich with the pickled onion. This is phenomenal. Another bite. The best coleslaw I've ever tasted in my life, and definitely the best barbecue shredded beef sandwich I've ever tasted in my life. A double whammy. And again, I will post the printable recipes for the coleslaw and the barbecue shredded beef in the description box below. Now we need to taste test the grand finale, the oven-baked apple slices with ice cream and a sprig of mint. You don't need me to tell you how utterly delicious these apple slices are. Cinnamony, buttery, there's a little hint of lemon. I just love them. And again, they're super versatile. You can serve them with ice cream or with creme fraiche or with clotted cream. You could roll these into crepes, as I sometimes do, and cover them with a little warmed cognac, and then ignite the works for for apples flambé. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as we prepared this very simple, very casual, but definitely delicious dinner. And we arranged flowers and we lit a fire. This is actually my first fireside dinner of autumn, and it's not even officially autumn yet. But the days are cool, the nights are downright cold, and it's definitely time to light fires. In the next episode, I'm planning to do a Mexican dinner where we can use the remainder of that shredded beef. And I hope you will watch. And again, thank you so much for being here. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and please post a comment below because, as you know, I love to hear from you. And until next time, please treat yourself very, very well, my friends. And I will see you soon. Bye for now.